Morning, Paula.
Oh, hi, Sara. Good to see you.
And you too. How are you?
Very well, actually. Yes, quite relaxed, surprisingly, under these circumstances.
Yeah, it's definitely strange, and
Yeah.
we're now entering in Ireland. We're entering week 3 of the schools being closed and homeschooling, and I know the UK. This is the second week.
This is our second week.
Yeah. So I thought that, given the fact that people have had a week now in the UK to settle down, and we've had a couple of weeks in terms of getting into some sort of normality, and I suppose a new reality of kids being home and kids at school, that I thought it would be really great to chat about how can parents cope a little bit better.
I know, when I think of it,
with kids at home,
my heart goes out to parents, because it is no easy task. It really isn't. And you think about all of the training that we have and the years of experience. I know, even myself, I'm a retired head teacher with decades of experience. I would find it really challenging, and to expect parents to take that on. I know that teachers are doing a fantastic job. They've set up Google Classrooms, and the teachers are sending work home, but it's huge for everybody. We're all in this completely new situation, and teachers don't really know what they're doing. They're not used to working in this way. Parents are certainly not used to it. What you're used to is that bit of homework that you have to do, and the homework battles, and often it's full of tears and stress, and you've got that kind of scenario going on there. And the children don't know where they're lost as well. So we're all feeling our way, and we're all kind of working in the dark, really. What do we do? What does homeschooling really look like, for huge numbers of children? And I just think it's so tough for people.
It's very tough. I mean, I know that if someone decided they want, like, out of choice, they wanted to homeschool.
Exactly.
There's a very strict, set of rules that are put in place that the parent has to agree to, and the child obviously has to be willing to participate in that. And then there's a lot of structure that's put in place when someone has made a conscious decision to do it, and it's their choice to do it. We are being, as I'm a mum. I have one in primary, one in secondary. So secondary is a different story, and that we're not going to be talking so much about that one today. But for primary level, as you said, I mean, homework can be a challenge in itself, and that should only take an hour at the most. But for some parents, that bit of the day is their least favorite bit of the day, and now
it really is. No, it's the whole day.
The whole day, to their children, and it's not voluntary. This is an involuntary, and not through anyone's choice, but it's kind of a necessity.
That's right.
So and obviously the reason I wanted to speak to you was because of your year's experience, and even though you haven't, obviously none of us have been through this particular circumstance.
Exactly.
Before, you have helped children who may be through being off school with illness and things like that, have been in a similar kind of situation. So it's what would you recommend for parents?
Because I think for me, coming from sort of my background, my message to parents would be, the most important thing right now is your child, how your child is feeling, how your child is coping, how the family are feeling, how the family are coping. And yes, you've got this work flying in from school, and the temptation is to think, we've got to get it done. There's this work, my children mustn't suffer, their education mustn't go backwards. What's going to happen when they go back to school? Are they going to fall behind? All the other children are going to be, getting top grades, my child's going to fail, and there's that stress of thinking, we've got to keep up the standards, we've got to keep up the work, and so on and so forth. Now, I would really like to send a message and just say, take a deep breath and relax, because every child is going to be not in the same boat. Some children just love learning and will do whatever the teacher says, and will be highly compliant, and will love their work, and will fly, and will do maybe even better than they would have done in school. Other children will kind of struggle a little bit. Other children, sadly, will find it very tough. The families will not be able to support them in that way. So when they go back to school, teachers will go back, will really assess where each child is. There will have to be changes in the system. Teachers will have to make up, to develop new programs of study, new ways of working with the children to help them forward. So I think really, parents, take that pressure off yourselves, that you need to be responsible for your child getting the best grades they can at the end of, you know, whenever this happens. Far more important is your well-being, your child's well-being, and the well-being of the whole family. So how can we address that?
So important. That's so important.
It's absolutely vital. It's the fundamentals, and these are just the fundamental principles, if you like. I would think about how we can help children over crisis, because they will be feeling a sense of crisis and of stress. And how can we help them? I mean, some won't. Some will be go, "Wee, you know, this is great, I'm fine." You know, every child is different. But as sort of guiding principles, let's look at the underlying things, not just sort of, because the temptation is, here we've got this worksheet, come on, let's get down to work, let's get it over and done with as soon as possible, boom, 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 and we're into doing, and one thing after the other. So my advice is, at the moment, let's just, we've had 2-3 weeks, let's just take a deep breath, take a step back, take stock. And I'm going to suggest a few things that you can do just to calm everything down, so that children can be in the most productive state for learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I know I'm speaking from my own experience with a 10-year-old. And I think it's also, for me, I've had to, because I'm quite a productive person. When I sit down to work, I want to have that, you know, that time of, right, I'm concentrating, I don't have anything interrupting me, which of course now doesn't happen because I have children interrupting me, and I have, you know, everybody's at home, and it's, so for even as an adult to get used to this new way of working is very, very difficult.
It is.
But I did have to kind of take that step back myself to go, look, children don't work at that pace, and in that way they don't have that same motivation. You know, and as you said, that thing of, can we just get this done?
Yeah.
You know, if you just sat down, we've
just sit down for half an hour, it'll be done. And children just not in that space.
It drags on, and you know.
Oh yes.
It is very frustrating. So
because I think it's a control thing, isn't it? It's homework, and it can often end up in a battle for control. You know, because you can't. And I know as a teacher, you know, you've got 30 children in front of you. I can't make them do anything. You you know, if they go, no, no, I'm not going to do it.
I have to say, I read a great quote. Sorry, just to interrupt you there. A guy called Chaim Ginott, and it's a book called Between Parent and Child. You know me, I love that book. But there's a quote which is, you can't make a child do what you want. You have to help them to want to do what you want them to do.
Yes. Yes.
And that really is what this is about, isn't it? It's about helping them to be in a different state.
It is. It is. So, should we discuss a few things that you can do when you take that step back? And breathing is really important.
And breathing space.
And I think that, definitely, we're in the right place, aren't we? So I think for parents, yes, to think about your own state, because your children are going to pick up on where you're at. And I know as a teacher, you know, when I'm feeling really good, it's the beginning of the term, I've got lots of energy, I'm relaxed in myself, things go really swimmingly. By the end of term, Christmas, when you've got everything going on, people are coming down with well, I won't mention colds or flu, then you're stressed, and then that has an effect on the children. And so the first thing to do is really think about your own state. You know, where are you at? And then just taking some time for yourself, really, some me time, with all the changes and all of the stresses that you're thinking about, because people are going through some really tough times. So how do you nurture yourself, and how do you just sort of calm it all down, and just take a couple of deep breaths. And I'm going to just share with you a very quick version of what we call grounding, which is a great way of just making that difference, because for children, they love exercise, they love to be active, and I would really suggest that at the beginning of the day, you do a lot of physical exercise. Get them out there, get them running, get them skipping, get them hopping, jumping. There are videos that you can do, because if they can start off, you know, by doing lots of physical exercise, and then they need to change to that sort of calm but focused state, ready for their work. So after they maybe run off a lot and got their energy going, then we can just say, okay, now we're going to change. We're going to change into the learning state. And so then we just take a deep breath. And then I just want you to have your attention on your feet. So go down through your body and just really think about your feet, and just be aware of your feet on the floor now. And there we go, our feet are on the floor. And what we're going to do is just to imagine from the soles of our feet, we're going to send down roots, deep, deep roots, deep, deep, deep into the ground. That's right. And those roots are going to go deep, deep, deep through the earth's crust, down into the center of the earth. And they're going wider and wider and deeper and deeper. So if you've got this network of roots coming from your feet down into the earth's core. Good. And take a deep breath. And just imagine those roots growing there, supporting you. Now, from the center of the earth, you're going to feel the earth's energy powering up through those roots. And you can imagine a color, maybe, as the energy comes inside you. So up, breathe in, and up comes the energy coming through your legs, your hips, and your chest, and your shoulders, and your head. Just feeling that energy coming up inside you. Good. Another deep breath. Good. And then you've also got down roots. And now when you breathe out, you can imagine all the stresses and the strains and the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and the worries are just going to be sent right down, cleared out from your body, and they're going to be sent down into the earth for that energy to be recycled. Okay, so we can set up that loop now. You've got your roots there. We breathe in the earth's energy. And we release those emotions and the stress and the thoughts down through our down roots. Good. Let's do that in your own time, a couple of times. Good. And then just twiddle your toes, twiddle your fingers, and when you feel ready, open your eyes. And you might feel a little bit different.
Do, thank you. That was lovely. And this is really good for parents to do as well.
I think that's what I said. The first thing to think about is your state. Rather than that, come on, let's just get it done for 30 minutes. It's just, okay, are we in that learning state? Are we in that calm but focused frame of mind to do the work? And there are some other exercises that children can do. Cross crawl is lovely to get their brains in that learning. I'll just demonstrate a little bit here. So you're just going to join your left foot to your right arm and so on, just like that, nice and slowly. Sometimes you can do just January, February, and then you can bring your elbow in. That helps to get the children into a state, get the brain working and functioning. Some children can, it looks easy, but some children can find that a bit of a challenge. But that can actually calm the body down too, if you know, just as a bit of variety really with the grounding. And if some children do martial arts, they can use that kind of centering that they do with martial arts. Just get into that, oh, we're ready to go. So that's just getting into the right state for learning, the frame of mind for learning. And as part of that is also, how do we listen to children? And I know as a teacher, often what we want to do is to give advice and to help them and jump in their space and solve all their problems for them. And oh, my dog's barking. I don't know whether you can hear that.
Dogs, children,
everything going on.
It's fine.
Yeah. So because the learning, it's tough for children, isn't it? And thinking about settling down to learning. I can't even control my dog, and I need some grounding.
I'm going to just pause the video just for a second.
Okay.
So okay.
I'll be fine. Yeah, my husband's there, so he's probably sort of, I don't know, locking him up somewhere. So where were we? It's about listening. So because we don't quite know what state your children are in, you don't really know what state you're in. So the thing to is to be there to listen. and not feel that you have to solve all their problems, that you have to jump in with advice, but really listen. You know, in our busy lives, often we don't really listen to each other. We're on the phone, we're making supper, we're doing the lunch boxes, we're planning, we've got to get out, and a lot of the talk is, oh, have you got your books? Have you got your homework books? What homework have you got? And we're not really sitting down and having that quality listening time. And one of the best things you could do is just listen and ask those open questions about, well, just tell me about your learning, or about English, or about your teachers, about what's going on. And because children have lost their friends, they've lost their structure, they've lost their roots, if you like, are in school. School gives them so much structure, so much security. How is it for them? You know, how are they going to, and then just asking them, well, how can I best help you? You know, what do you want to tell me? And you're not giving advice, you're just listening. That's all I can say. Just tell me more about that. Well, what else are you experiencing? What else are you thinking? What else are you feeling? And just get them to talk and talk and talk and share and share and share without you jumping in their space.
I think, you know, and I often say this to parents when I work with them, and it's good for me to be reminded of this too, as a parent. It is that thing of, when we see our children in pain, you know, we sort of panic a little bit. We don't like to see our children sad or angry or afraid, you know, and sometimes in a kind of, within the rush of everything, and with our own emotions kind of, you know, obviously sometimes a little bit overwhelming, there's a temptation to, or a tendency to want to try and stop them from feeling what they're feeling as quickly as possible. And it might be giving in to something that you wouldn't normally give in to, or it might be just going, well, it's just the way it is, there's nothing we can do about it. This, you know, okay, yeah, no, this isn't an ideal situation, but, well, it's not my fault, I didn't, you know, to try and just get out of kind of discomfort as quickly as possible as a parent. And I think one of the, I read it, I don't know where I got this from, but, you know, me and books, and I'm always magpie, pick up information from everywhere, but I remember reading a brilliant analogy about emotions, and it was that, you know, we're like trains on tracks, we're trains, and our lives are tracks, and sometimes we're going one way and sometimes we're going other ways, and sometimes it's a branch and we have to choose, and sometimes we go through tunnels, and tunnels are dark and scary, and some are short and some are long, but they all have one thing in common, which is they have an exit, otherwise it's a cave. So to learn how to go through a negative emotion and process it and be okay with it. Not that it's comfortable, but know that, yes, okay, I feel sad, or I feel afraid, or I feel lonely, or you know, angry, or whatever it is, that having that emotion is okay. It's reasonable to have that emotion, and it will pass. And if we stop our children from processing effectively, they'll get stuck in the tunnel, and they'll always be afraid of being stuck in a tunnel. And as they get older, you know, and a lot of adults are kids inside, and maybe,
we've all got we've all got that. So and it is, and you can learn those listening skills where you're not thinking about your own thoughts. You're not thinking what you're going to say next to your child to comfort them or to give advice. So you're almost like a blank space yourself. And if you've done your ground, sorry?
It actually takes a lot of pressure off the parent then to have to solve the problem.
So by listening and encouraging the child to talk through, to just share whatever, and just listen, and to honor and say, okay, so I understand that you're feeling really scared, and you're feeling, you know, that you haven't got your friends around you anymore, and you know, how does that feel? You know, what's going on for you with that, and you know, what can we do? And it's together finding a way through that. So, and this is a good, you know, we can look on this as in some way an opportunity that we can give each other time, this precious quality time to really listen to each other and help each other process what's going on.
Absolutely. And I've said it to my own children, you know, we can look at this in one of two ways. You know, either we have to be at home and we have to all be here under the same roof and you know, stuck, or we get to spend time together.
Yeah.
You know, we get this time,
Yes.
and this will be really probably, with any luck, in terms of the worldwide global pandemic point of view, with any luck, the only time we have to do this. But at the same time, yeah, it's a rare gift, I think, for so many families.
It can really be
this
turned
much time
into
together.
a gift to. And I think the great thing is building in fun time.
Yes.
And particularly for children, little children really can't concentrate. Well, when they're involved in something, you know, even sort of tipping water from one jug to another, they can be totally absorbed and their attention span can be huge. But, you know, there's kind of schoolwork. It's a very short time. So you're talking sort of 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes for the older children.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yes, you might be doing 10 minutes, but and then they need a run round. They need a break. They need, so things like skipping, and if you've got a limited space, skipping, learning to juggle is a fantastic thing for children because it really gets the brain going in amazing. Skipping is a great coordination exercise for the brain, and they need those brain breaks. So it's building in relaxation, building in fun, going back to that grounding and that back to that learning state. So learning to swap states between, yeah, I'm going to burn off my energy and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to, and then we can swap our state into the learning state.
Absolutely. We're lucky we have a bit of space around the house, and
yeah.
I got my younger son to do 10 rounds on his scooter in between English and maths yesterday.
Yes.
And yeah, it's quite amazing because you think, actually, that it's almost counterintuitive. You think that by letting kids run around and burn off that energy, they're going to then be hyper and they can't concentrate. Actually, it's the opposite.
Yes.
It's actually completely the opposite, you know. It's to give, as you said, it's to give them that chance and that opportunity to just change it up, change that. You know, they've got all this pent up energy. Children are not designed to be sitting still.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is what you need to build. But you're building in what we call in that transitions phase. So that transition state. So, you know, they're coming from the playground. They're all hyper. They're probably having an argument with their friends, and it's just. And how do we now calm ourselves down to go into the classroom and to sit down at your desk? And so it's going to be the same for parents. You've got those times when you give them those breaks, you have those sort of let off the energy, and then it's learning how you calm the system down to get into that focused, calm for a focused state. And that grounding is really great.
Oh, it's fantastic. And we know from years of doing this with teachers and schools and parents, you know, just how effective it is. And some people say, you know, well, how young can they be? And I would say, you know, that they can be very little.
Very little. And sometimes, you know, thank you for bringing that up, because even little ones, you know, 3, 4 years old, they can be giants, and they can just imagine that they've got really heavy legs and they're going to plod along and they're going to sink into the ground. They can pretend that they've got glue or treacle on their feet and they're really stuck to the ground. So there are lots of ways of just getting the children to feel grounded. One little boy I had was a 5-year-old. He was all over the place, and this was his ninja warrior energy. So the earth energy didn't really quite work for this little one, and he didn't really like the idea of roots. But the idea that he had these sort of laser beams going down from his feet, and then he could get all his ninja energy up from the earth was great. So it's finding all sorts of ways that the children can feel connected to the ground, because stress and also little ones, you know, we have their head in the clouds and high in the sky and just get down to earth, and they do need some skills to get themselves, you know, feeling part of the ground. And as the weather's getting warmer, you know, take the shoes and the socks off. If you've got even just a little patch of earth, a little bit of grass that the children can actually experience barefoot, and that they can really get that earth connection there through their bodies, which will just calm their system down for them.
Yes, and we are lucky that we have got the good weather coming in the midst of all.
Aren't we lucky? Yes.
You know, so getting out, a bit of fresh air as much as we possibly can. You know, that yeah, it's a bit of a pressure cooker in lots of houses. This is a very unusual situation. So, you know, even with the best skills in the world, people are going to be, you know, it's a massive readjustment. And luckily, it's not going to be forever. I think that's one of the things, is this kind of uncertainty of how long it's going to be. We don't know. but it isn't going to be like this forevermore. It is about just how do we make the most of this. And,
and I think making the most of it is a really good way of looking, because it's, you know, and there, the opportunity to be creative, to follow your child's interests, to boost their self-esteem, because often in school, you know, for many children it's not a pleasure, it's actually a torture going to school, you know, if they've got learning challenges, friendship problems or whatever. So whatever parents can do to boost their self-esteem, and away from the worksheets from school, what are their interests that you can really foster and develop their creativity. And
almost getting to know your child in a very different way.
Do you know, I think it is.
You know, just to sit down and just even have those have that time to have those conversations, and to explore their interest is really precious.
Yes.
Because we all pretty much all suffer from the busyness cycle.
Oh, we do.
So we don't have time, and so we're on the phone and we're cooking dinner and we're trying to, you know, and working parents, you know, we're all trying to put food on the table and keep a roof over our heads, and
huge pressures.
All of these, and I think it's about maybe just adjusting our priorities and our values a little bit, and just to come back to that, you know, more sort of family centric way of being, and connection, really making those strong connections.
Absolutely.
So I know we have a couple of courses, but there's one specific one for parents. So you just mentioned there about children who maybe struggle a bit at school.
Yes.
So we've decided, because the two of us are the trainers of that course, to offer this course for a massively reduced fee. It's normally €97, and it's to help children who are struggling with spelling, reading and handwriting specifically. We do talk about the grounding, we do kind of take parents through that a lot more detail, so there's a script there and everything else, and it really, so, you know, this can really help any child who's struggling with their word skills in any way, shape or form, who would have been getting extra support maybe at school, that obviously now that's not there. Maybe parents are a little bit at a loss as to what to do here. So it's normally 97. We're going to offer it for just €10. There's a code underneath this video, and that's for the duration that people are homeschooling. This will be on offer for. We know that parents who've used this have had, and you can watch it with your kids.
Yes, that's
the beauty of it. This is not about parents learning how to be a teacher and having to then sort of teach their children that way, but obviously parents are now in that situation where they're kind of, they've got the teacher hat on as well as everything else. But they're really very gentle videos, and they're very easy for children to understand as well, to help them know what's going on inside of their heads and how they can control their head. Paula, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, and we do it every day because we are busy.
I know I could talk for ages, because you haven't even gone on to how do you actually help them with the work, or how do you structure the day or anything. There's so much that we could talk about, but hopefully getting in the right state for learning and having fun are the key messages here.
Yeah, I think, you know, everyone realizes mental health is really a priority here. Academic achievement comes on the back of that. It's not ahead of it. It's really, really important. And yeah, maybe we'll do another section another day on a little bit more around structure and things like that. And yeah, thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, enjoy your day. Just about to take the dog for a walk now, so
lovely. And
that'll be really lovely, and the sun's shining, so all good.
Absolutely. Paula, we'll chat to you soon.
Real pleasure, Sarah. Okay, bye-bye.